This is some keywords on communication in the daily life and in the pedagogical praxis. And it's from several books on communication that I have been giving talks about earlier. And it's just a quick walkthrough. Well, communication is first and foremost more than words. And so you can say that silence can also be a kind of communication. Communication is always between someone and something. And between those two, we can call A and B or X and Z. And so you've got the Y or the C as the third opponent. So if you can imagine communication between two sides, you have A talking and communicating with B, not necessarily talking, but sending symbols of a kind. Then you have the C, and this is what the case is about. What are they talking about, or what is it they are signaling to each other, or what's the case that is in between them? And so there is always the third element in communication that is common between the two, and that can be a very good entry point if you want to get to know someone or you're going to make a new relation. It's to have something to talk about. And every communication has basically a sender, a receiver, and a message. And so this is the A, C, and B, or X, Z, and the Y in the middle. And so communication is a kind of receiving and sending messages, very, very basically said. At the same time, communication is all about the context, things that surrounds the communication and not really part of it. It can be part of something more elaborate and can have a lot of things that can disturb it. And this is what I'm gonna see a little bit through a little later. In every kind of contact, there is communication, and we can be good or less than than good in ways of communication. And so, learning how to communicate and receive communication can be of importance when you are working, especially with humans and in social practices, but also in ordinary life. It can be an important skill. It is actually an important skill. And basically, it is surrounded around words. So when I say something, you listen to it and you decode it and you understand it. But language of the body and the tonality of how I'm saying these words can also have a big effect on how you receive this message and this communication. And so the context can have an important role as well. If I am speaking while standing in front of a burning building, is a lot different than speaking in front of a building ready to be taken in as a new city hall. So there is a big difference where I am, what context I'm speaking in, how is my tonality, what words I'm using, of course, and what is the body language that I am showing the public around me. And in every communication, there are weaknesses and strengths. And so you can find that when you compare verbal and written communication. The way I would have written these issues would have been different from the way I'm speaking right now, because right now I'm imagining myself trying to communicate a message to people who are listening. They're going to use their ears more than their eyes. And so by speaking as I think I am doing well, I'm trying to reach to that person who is more listening than reading. And so the way I would have written this would have been a lot different and would be in a more complex matter that would maybe fit the eyes a little bit. So I would maybe make a sentence that is twice as long as I'm doing now, and I would properly introduce these words with a kind of examples, and then maybe go back and sum up some of the words, but in a different way. And so we can see there can be big differences between verbal and written communication. That's why many people prefer to read a book than to listen to explanation of that book, because, well, the book gives you something. The author has been really tiring himself or herself in trying to formulate. So if you go to the big novels of history and time, you will see, well, these authors really using a lot of time uh, weighing and choosing the word they want to choose and use in that communicative text they're sending you. While if you just speak like I'm doing now without any preparation and just out of the mind, I will be bubbling on with a very low code way of speaking that puts me like in the level of somebody stopping on the street and saying a few words on this issue and passing by. I am not really weighing the words and choosing the synonyms and putting it in a kind of balance. And the same goes when you're going to listen to an audiobook. It's basically you are going to listen to the same original text that has been written and the author has given time, but you cannot stop up and go back. Or if you can, it's a bit harder than when you have the text in front of you and can chew on the words, as they say. It's like you stop up and read it again. I've done that with Shakespeare. I've done that with several very good classical novels. And so that way I can really internalize what is being said, what is being written, and get it in that beautiful manner that it has been said. And that's why poetry has to be written in a special way and read in a special way, not the least. So in each kind of communication, there can be weaknesses and strengths that we have to maybe optimize. We can see today in the modern world when we are using this tool. I am not really using all the benefits of the YouTube or the social media. I am not working on anything else but my voice and maybe this text that's in Danish and not even readable for the people I'm maybe talking to in English. And so in that way, I'm failing to use the optimized ways of communication. What I should have been doing is like some of these other people presenting stuff, a lot of charts and a lot of movement and different pictures, so they apply both to the eye and to the mind and to the ear, and with some music or something interesting or a kind of animation in between. I guess you get the point. That will make it a lot more maybe attractive for many people. What I'm counting on the other hand, is that, well, I'm expressing this for some people who would just be satisfied understanding the topic, not necessarily going for those easy sell charts and I don't know what, all kind of jumping around like a circus, and just to get the idea and to get the words and to get the key words out of what communication is, and they have to drag along my way of speaking and stopping and all that, or get used to it or run away altogether. That's how it is. And so I have no specific purpose like gaining followers or trying to enhance my what can you say, the subscribers, is it called, I guess. This is not my target. My target is to relate some of the things I really know about and have experience with for somebody out there who would be at one point or another interested in gaining this knowledge and understanding it well. And so to choose what kind of communication is of importance because it can give your message more directly, more clear, and more to the point to what you want. In communication, there is something called symmetric and asymmetric communication. That is when you are speaking to someone who have a position or a power or a domination higher than you, then the position is asymmetric. And asymmetric can be in different ways. Can be because of the role they have in society, or maybe because of their ability to argument and explain more than you can, or it can be because of some kind of law that has given them that asymmetric relation. So when you're talking to your boss at work, you are not totally equal. And when you're talking to someone like who by nature is your superior and by the law, like your maybe parents or people who have control over your actions, then you are in an asymmetrical relation. And the same goes the other way. When you are speaking to kids or young people in an institution, you have the higher ground. And so that does not mean you can get a good dialogue and talk out of it, but the relation is basically asymmetrical. And by saying that, we understand that somebody has overhand in that communication. You can end it, you can control in which direction it goes, and you can also decide a lot of things in that type of communication. Symmetrical communication is when two obviously equal partners are speaking on the same topic together in an open fashion called dialogue and conversation. And that's a way like to keep it leveled, because if you want to have a good conversation, you do not want to use asymmetrical power in that communication. You do not want to dominate and win the argument all the time, or by purpose or no purpose always put the other in a difficult corner, but you want to keep the situation and the talk open and the conversation based on equal understanding. There is also what's we have been speaking about earlier, than the different kind of communications. There are the non-verbal, then the verbal, the oral, and the written communication, and then there is what's called mass communication, group communication. That's when you need to address a big number of people, and that has different dynamics and tools to use than just addressing one, two persons in front of you, or making an oral statement in a small closed shop. So you have to take that into account as well. Communication can be one way and two way. One way is when somebody is speaking, called monologue, and some people who are speaking together, called dialogue. And then conversation when it's symmetrical, and a dialogue on a topic where you feel equal. Communication has, if we can look at it from a broader perspective, in the formula of communication that I've tried to show down here, but I had also a whole slice with it that's not really present right now. It has a motive or a goal. Then there is the sender, the message, the media by which you're using to communicate. There is the noise, the receiver, the decoding, and the effect. And this is a much more complicated and larger model of communication than the first one we talked about, that it's about a sender, a message, and a receiver. Here we've got more keywords that are of importance. What's the target with this communication? Because you have to look at that when you get the effect. If you're standing in front of that burning building and you're trying to wave your hands and shout so people can bring some buckets and call the fire department, and the effect is that people just wave back and continue their walk in the park, well, the communication has failed altogether, totally. And you are the sender of that communication. So how are you sending it? What is the media you're using, and how are you applying your words, tones, language of body, gesticulation, face expressions? All this becomes part of a communication that wants to send a special message and want it to be decoded in a special way. And that doesn't happen all the time because of the receiver, who can have a different set of interpretive cultural tools. And we will speak about that later. There are things that can become noise during that transfer of communication. And so you're sending the message, the building is burning, come help me, come help me. And the media is gesticulating the voice and so on, maybe a megaphone. And the big picture behind you should be message enough. Like when they see a building on fire, that should be enough for any person walking out there to see there is something wrong. We have to act to that. But this is just to exemplify. It could be something much more trivial or of a kind that's not so visible, like in an economical transaction, or to make an understanding with parents about their kid in a school. So the noise occupies a lot of study as well between people who are experts in communication, because what is the noise that can make this communication go away from its original target or do not hit the understanding that you wished it to get? And so what is it that makes that? That's what we're going to look at in a second. Then there is the receiver and the decoding. The decoding is how that person is geared and ready to understand your message. A very simple thing is you're using a language this person does not understand. Waving the hands, well, if they can't see the burning building or do not understand that it's burning, they will just wave back. So the decoding becomes also of importance. Who are you speaking to, and what is the level of understanding they have to decode what you are saying? And that's why most of us do not understand philosophers and very clever people speaking, because They speak in a way and in a manner that goes beyond our usual daily life reach. And so we got lost on the floor, and we think they are also clever just because they are jungling with some words we do not understand that are coded. And the same goes for the doctors. There was a famous joke I saw on the net recently, that an airplane flying by an island with 7 doctors on it, and they are all trying to write in the sand "help," and they are writing it in such a manner as they do on receipts when they're gonna give you what can you say, a recipe for the pharmacy to go and buy some medicine. Well, they just write something you cannot understand at all. And you are also wondering how that person at the pharmacy can decode the message, but that's because they have been studying it and so putting themselves in a very special group of people with higher salaries and higher understanding, even though if you learn the same thing in maybe shorter time even, you'll be able to do the same and decode and code the message. But because you can't, and the doctor can, the pharmacist can decode it and give you the right medicine, but you don't understand what he's writing. And so on that island, they were trying to send a message to the bypassing airplane of help. And because they couldn't write straight, the airplane just went on and thought they were on a vacation on that island. And so this is also an example, a funny one, of how messages can be decoded or not understood at all. So what kind of noise can come between you and the communication you're sending or receiving? Basically, they say there are 7 types. One is your appearance and tonality. The second is language and words of choice. The third one is how much the ability to listen to the message and respond to it is available. The feelings and the body language. Then the voice and the tonality. And then you have the eye contact and the gesticulation. And mimic must also go under that. And so the way you look can sometimes be a noise to the message. And the same with how you look. Well, if you come in a circus clown costume to a very serious group of people who are waiting for someone to tell them how to get out of an accident or a situation that can be very difficult, well, you have chosen a totally wrong way of expressing yourself. And that will take a lot of attention away from what you want to say. The language and the words of choice is also central and very important. And I think it's the most common one. That how do you say this? Which words do you choose? Do you put an impact on the feelings or a rational argument or explain it with a story? And so we have got some people in the world who have really been experts in giving speeches, and that can be studied over time because they put just the right amount of balance of all these ingredients and they become a big success. The ability to listen and to give response is also important for the message. The feelings and the language of your body. You can be like in a state that makes people give you a lot of attention because maybe you're close to crying or laughing or in a state of cheerfulness and happiness that people must understand why. And so your body language as well can be a sign of how you are and what it is you are saying. And sometimes your message can be very dull and very unimportant. So people focus more on your voice. And this is also a technique some of the old people had been using to say that, well, focus on my voice, not on my movements. And that we can see sometimes is going totally wrong in some explanatory videos where people are so focused on these shifting of pictures and the girl jumping around and the guy saying this and that, and that you sometimes just lose sight of what they are saying, what's the message, and you got lost in all that, and you think you got more clever, but you didn't understand anything. You should be focusing on the voice and the tonality of that makes it more quieter and more easy to get. Or maybe your both your voice and your feelings and your body language are so coherent So you use them in the right place and the right time, that makes the best impact. The same with the tone and the voice and the eye contact. Whether you can have this eye contact can be difficult when you're speaking to a big group of people. That's why it has another dynamics. But if you're speaking one-on-one or small group, and the eye contact can help you decode a lot. They say the eye is the passage to the soul, and if you can read people's eyes, you can understand a lot of what they are mirroring and feeling, even though they are maybe not trying to show it or say it in the words. You can just grasp it and understand it. There are people who study these things and are experts in it as well. And how you use your body, gesticulation, and mimic. That means which kind of face expressions do you put on when you are saying, I love chocolate. Yeah. Imagine you're frowning saying that and being like upset and disgust. We associate some certain way of reacting to some certain way of being. And we see that a lot in movie and series, and people who want to show you they are shocked or they are maybe disgusted by something or cheerful and happy. And you can see they have perfected this way of reacting to the situation they are in, that they can become these very famous and attractive people we all want to watch and follow in the series and the movies. This was the 7 elements of noise that can come in communication. The next part is professional communication. Perhaps I will take it in a video for itself.